Alright, we're back after a brief wildcard detour. Let's start talking about some more IEM Cologne. The first place we're going to look ahead of the group stage recap coming in a few days, we're going to take a look at the Falcons and the debut of Kyousuke and what we might be able to expect from this roster out the gate. Initially, I was just going to analyze what we saw from their opening matchup against GamerLegion, but thanks to my laziness and other scheduling getting in the way, we waited long enough that we already have the next day's games played, so we can take a look at it a little bit more. And after beating GamerLegion very soundly, Falcons got bounced out in a frankly embarrassing loss to the Mongols, where Mongolz and Nico put up utter bagels, while the 17-year-old Wunderkind and Kyousuke put up an honestly pretty good carry performance, even if it didn't ultimately matter. Let's go ahead and talk about how Kyousuke is looking so far and what we might be able to expect from this Falcons roster. If you guys enjoy this kind of coverage, you can show me by leaving a like in the comment down below, subscribing to the channel already, help me hit 10k subs by the end of the year. And another thing, I want to keep pushing my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. I want to be able to co-stream more events, and the only way I can really do that is by pumping up those Twitch numbers, and my Twitch presence is significantly less so than my presence here on YouTube. If you guys don't know, I stream 6 days a week at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully you'll come check me out one time. And lastly, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey, a CS2 trading website. You put in the skins that you want to trade, you select what you want, you use my code LionHeartZ for up to $5 off, or click the top link in the description, and boom, new drip.
Nice.
You can also use my code for a 35% deposit bonus if you want to buy with real money. And they have a free section with cool giveaways. So check the top link in the description, use my code to buy 15 Dragon Lores to let them know I sent you their way, and thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. So I had blocked out what this video was going to be and was hoping to do it yesterday, but the wildcard news got in the way. So what I was trying to get at was what were Falcons going to look like positionally. To be honest with you, I don't really think Falcons need to walk out and win Cologne for Kyousuke to be a good move or not. There's going to be an adjustment period. The kid's never played Tier 1 Counter-Strike in his life. There's going to be a period where the team has to kind of grow into itself. My big concerns coming into this tournament were really going to be what the positioning was going to look like. How were the CT sides going to adjust around Kyousuke? Would Nico give up spots for him? Would he be taking all of the bitch spots? Would TeSeS be taking all of the bitch spots? How exactly would Kixan and Zonic sit down and formulate a way for this team to have its best combination of firepower available to its 3 stars? Coming out of the GamerLegion series, it seems like things were going to be a bit of an adjustment, but on paper, obviously the firepower looked crazy good. All of Nico, Mongolz, and Kyousuke had several moments where they looked really excellent. I think it was really good to see Nuke as the first map with this Falcons lineup, because Nuke is a map that is obviously Nico's home ground. And going into it, keep in mind that Magisk would be playing kind of on the A bomb site as the A bomb site anchor, and TeSeS would be playing towards ramp. And throughout this game against GamerLegion, TeSeS was moved over to the A site and Kyousuke was taking up the ramp location, which I think was interesting. Just to add in a little bit of contrast, when Kyousuke was playing on Spirit Academy, he was taking that star position, kind of Nico donk rifling role, playing oftentimes inside of mini, but in general just playing to contest outside, which makes a lot of sense when you're the solo star player on an academy team, but obviously Nico is the best outside player ever, you're not going to take his spot. I do think it's interesting to stick him in ramp then, because it's kind of a give and take position where some teams will elect to put like a dedicated anchor or support player in that position, but then other players like Rops, for example, are stars who did play ramp, which he did for both FaZe and currently for Vitality. The interesting part about ramp as a position is that it's very kind of separate from the rest of the team. You really only have the ability for one player to rotate in, and most often that's the Opper either coming down from heaven or from outside into hell. But other than that, ramp can be an island, and oftentimes you're very much alone and have to make a lot of independent decisions and reads on whether you stay up or rotate down to try and reinforce the bottom bomb side or push through trophy for intel or what have you. It can be a very, very unforgiving position, because if the A side just gets bowled over, you're more often than not either stuck in an impossible retake or going to save. So all of that is to say, I think Kyousuke handled himself very well in this opening game. It was a little slow starting, but so were Falcons in general, but once they got going, they looked pretty good. They had some nice rotates down to the lower bomb site, Kyousuke had some good multi-kills. All in all, I think he responded well to working around Mongolz as his hell rotator. And honestly, I think moving TeSeS over to the bomb site works out in a lot of ways, because TeSeS is still an incredible player in his own right, so him and Kixan kind of bouncing off each other as the A hold, I think actually will work out a lot more in the long run. I would say the weirdest part, at least about this Nuke game, were the T sides, where Kyousuke taking up pretty much all of Nico's spots in terms of the outside rifler position. Multiple buy rounds where Kyousuke's playing directly in Nico's spots, being that solo outside rifling presence playing around the smoke walls and trying to either hold and see how the CTs react or take space down towards secret. Now overall he was kind of mixed in terms of successes here, but he also wasn't directly pushed into very many times. It was interesting to see Nico willingly give up this spot because it's where he's so notorious for dominating the map from, allowing his teammates to rotate around inside and go ramp late as he picks apart the CTs. So I don't know if this is going to be a more permanent solution or if Nico's going to kind of trade that space off with Kyousuke depending on the matchup. At least in this opening game against GamerLegion, that seems to be the lay of the land. They also won the second map, Mirage, pretty handily, but Mirage is a very open and flexible map. One thing to notice right out the game is that Kyousuke seems to be playing Cat a lot of the time, which is an interesting switch up, and Tesses has moved over into Magist spots of being the B-side anchor proper, which seems to be the most logical setup you could do. You want Kyousuke to be in sort of a power position. He's certainly not going to play connector because that is Nico's spot. As much as outside CT is Nico's spot, so is connector on Mirage. So I think putting him on Catwalk to work off of Nico and Mongolz makes a lot of sense. I was going to go into a lot more detail and make everything about the GamerLegion stuff into its own video, but obviously we have the Mongolz game to talk about. And coming out of that first series, I thought the Falcons looked pretty good. The firepower on paper looked nuts, but obviously GamerLegion are not exactly the most formidable team in the world. They're also kind of in flux, dealing with their own new roster woes. So how would the Falcons hold up against the major runner-ups in the Mongolz? And the short answer is not good. The Falcons got bounced out in a 2-0 loss, not even getting to double-digit rounds on either Dust 2 or Mirage. And while this is one game, I think we can read a lot of stuff from both teams in this regard. On one hand, I think the Mongolz are going to prove here at Cologne that they deserve to be in the conversation of the Spirit, Maus, and Falcons of the world, as truly in that upper echelon, still below Vitality because Vitality keep dominating everybody, but they deserve to be in that context of teams who should be vying to try and beat Vitality for the first time. Meanwhile, for the Falcons, this was like worst case scenario where you had Nico and Mongolz put up terrible performances. Meanwhile, Kyousuke shined on both maps as best he could. Before we even get into some examples, take a look at this scoreboard for the match. You have Kyousuke going 42-30 with a 1.34 rating, and not a single other Falcons player gets above a 0.9. That is disastrously bad for a team that was built to be all firepower. Getting rid of Magist and picking up Kyousuke was a move made out of the necessity of putting more fragging in the server. You've conceded that you cannot beat Vitality tactically, so you want to outshoot them. Well, if Nico and Mongolz aren't going to perform game to game as you would expect, then that falls apart. Let's take a look at some of these T-side rounds on Dust 2 and see if we kind of identify some stuff that's going wrong. Over here on round 3, it's the first gun round of the game after losing the pistol round and the full save after. And right out the gate, Mazinho gets a great opener onto Tesses after trading a pretty messy spray through the door. Tesses here probably needs to just disengage a little sooner, not overcommit to the fight when he's getting sprayed through the door like that, because it leaves Falcons in a pretty difficult situation where you're already not that great on utility as it's only the first gun round and you're down 5v4. They work map control pretty slowly before irising down into a late cat hit. Blitz and Mazinho are doubled up on the bomb site with Mazinho and Goose with the flashbang ready, and Blitz gets a nice one before going down, and the flash allows Mazinho to swing out, but Kicksan gets the double. Meanwhile, Nico dropped down into CT. Techno clears the CT angle quick, taking care of Nico, leaving Mongolz and Kicksan into 2v3. Techno pushing up through elevator to ramp, takes out Kicksan, and Mongolz in the 1v3 gets the trade out onto Techno, but can't convert the clutch. Obviously, the big thing that went wrong here was losing that early engagement via Tesses, because it put them in a position where there wasn't a whole lot of room to work the map control afterwards, and Kyousuke fails the entry against Blitz, which is just going to happen. Skipping to the next gun round, round 5, out the gate, Kyousuke and Tesses are going to go out long to mixed results. Kyousuke dies immediately, and Tesses gets a trade before getting knocked out by 9-10, leaving the remaining players in a 3v4. The big thing to know here, and this happens a few times, I don't know if this is going to be a continued trend, Nico kind of operating as the B lurker instead of working some of the entries and more of the aggressive positions. I don't know if Nico is eyeing up moving into more of a lurk position to compensate for Kyousuke also being aggressive or what, but at least in this game, he's going to be playing this B-Tones position solo many times, and here he kind of gets burned getting taken out by Techno on his own aggression for intel. Kicksan gets a trade back elsewhere, leaving them in a 2v3, but Mongolz and Kicksan aren't going to be able to convert as they are trapped trying to navigate the late mid to B. After dropping the first 6 rounds, the Falcons finally find some purchase on their T side, and I like that it comes from Nico shifting into a more aggressive kind of duo entry with Kyousuke. They take the lower control, they work the mid to B, and Kyousuke and Nico get 2 great picks out in mid right away, and that is perfect. This is why mid to B is the best strat on Dust 2, because if you can win the mid fight, you have isolated one player onto B and locked the other 2 CTA players essentially out of the rest of the round. All you have to do is pinch down to the B side, hope the guy on B doesn't get like a 5k spray down, and you pretty much win the round, because the A players are going to save almost always because the B side retake is so difficult. This is what I want to see more of from the Falcons, is Kyousuke and Nico working this like 2-man entry pact, where Nico can use his great wherewithal, his great game sense to augment around Kyousuke's insane raw skill. Now in the following round, we get to see why Kyousuke is such an insane prospect, as here Falcons are once again going to work this mid default, take cat control. Nico is back to being the B tunnels lurk. He's going to get punished for it as Senzu on the double op pushes through and takes care of him, but we instantly cut to catwalk as Kyousuke hits a couple of blinders with the AK, taking 2 picks back right away. And this is why he was so sought out there as a prospect. His raw mechanics are simply insane to watch play out, and if Falcons can optimize around that, they're going to be a problem for a lot of teams just off of brute aggression alone. After the Mongols save a round and the very next full buy round, Kyousuke shows off some pretty good versatility. He's going to take the op off spawn to long and get an opening pick, trade the op back for his AK with Munacy, and then turn around and entry right back out long. That's actually insane. Kyousuke did a lot of good work in this series with the op in his hand, especially on the CT side, double opping with Munacy, but dude, if he's just going to be like a Senzu level threat who can do it kind of all, he's going to be super versatile. Now, he does go down to 910, who's camped out at car, but that's fine. They've sold the A hit hard enough here that the rest of the Falcons players can rotate around. Nico is still lurking in B tunnels this whole time, and that allows them to get into the B side. Techno has to concede the side, though he does his best. It comes down to a 3v3 post plant, and Munacy hits a good double kill behind Kicksan to finish off the round. Now, of course, we're not going to walk away from this Falcons game on Dust 2 and not talk about Blitz having a hilarious 1v4 clutch on the B side in the second half. Now listen, at the expense of maybe being unpopular amongst my fans, I do have to say, while I enjoy laughing at the Falcons as much as everybody else does, this was a round where the Falcons were saving, they're rotating into one of the hardest retakes in the game, and nobody has armor. It is not unreasonable for Blitz to win this round. Now, however, it's still very funny, okay? Very funny, quite hilarious, did laugh, very haha, but ultimately, it's not like the Falcons really, threw a round that could affect their chance of the tournament, like losing a 3v5 post plant on Inferno in a must-win game in overtime. Listen, outside of that edge case, the Falcons are usually pretty good about that stuff. Now, again, I think the big reason the Falcons lost is obviously Nico and Munacy kind of went missing. Munacy had a really, really bad game here. On the second half, he only got 2 kills. He was struggling with the op in a lot of situations. It just wasn't good. Kyousuke was unfortunately kind of one-man arming through this matchup on both maps, and that's just not going to fly. The good news for the Falcons at this point is that they're not eliminated. They still got one more try tomorrow. Looking ahead, they are going to have to play Furia in a must-win game, which honestly I think should be a bit of a worrying game for them. Furia are on an upswing, they're playing really, really good. My big concern is honestly Munacy in the head-to-head against Molodoy. His opping today looked really, really shaky, and if him and Nico are going to struggle, we might be in a scenario where Kyousuke is having to carry again, and Fallen is a crafty enough in-game leader to maybe try and target Kyousuke on some of these bomb sites. If they get onto Nuke, I would imagine Fallen's going to put a lot of pressure on him ramp. So this is by no means an easy way out. Falcons could be getting eliminated tomorrow in IEM Cologne. It's definitely in the cards. Is it a big deal if they do? I'm going to go ahead and say no. I think that's unfair to Kyousuke, and it's unfair to the team after just one event. It would be not the best start. It'd be a worrying sign, but we got to give them a couple months. As much as I hate the Falcons and I hate this organization, we got to be charitable to the players. They're not going to be their maximal self right away. Keep in mind, not exactly the fairest comparison, but Vitality didn't look good to start off the year until they started winning everything. So if you're rocky out the gate, it doesn't mean the roster move's a bust. But this is kind of how the Falcons are looking so far. Let me know what you guys think about Kyousuke in the comments down below. How have you liked the fit thus far in IEM Cologne? Keep in mind, the recap for Cologne group stage will be done as soon as the group stage is finished up. If you guys are enjoying some of the specific metagame coverage, you can show me by leaving a like and a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Helps on immensely the YouTube algorithm. Let me hit 10K subs by the end of the year. Make sure you go follow me on Twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. Help me get some numbers up so I can hopefully co-stream eventually. And thank you to Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video. You got to try on their website. Let them know I sent you their way. Thank you to Skins Monkey. Thank you to my channel members: Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, Just a Better Rate, I'm Flashbang, Snowy White, Rowdy, Vergil'sPlasticChair, Snax Enjoyer, Crunchy Water, Zerotwocs, and LBKcs. If you want to come channel member, do so. Links are down below. $5 a month to get anything. Just like this. Also, guys, I'm on the community Discord. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.